good to see you all. My name is Ashley Blacksheep. I'm a librarian at the Crawford Public Library, and I'll have a few boring things and then we'll get to the exciting stuff. So boring things include the double doors in the back. The fire hall has asked that we don't go through those, just so that if they need to use that space promptly, that they can. And then same with parking in front of the bay doors outside. Elsewhere, I have got, as a to show appreciation for them hosting us here at the fire hall, I've got their donation booth out, so and it's right next to the Friends of the Library donation jar. And both these entities help library programming become a real success. So I'm very grateful to both the Friends and the fire station. There's also some cookies that were generously provided by our presenters today. And that concludes the boring stuff. All right, for the exciting stuff, it was the first time I had done the History Talk series, and this was last year, and at the end of it, it was the first time I met Eldon Wohlers. He approached me and said, "These were great, but I've got a story to tell." And so I'm like, I'm very eager to hear that story, so we thankfully stayed in touch over that year. And as I was working with my collaborators to come up with a theme for this History Talk series, Gumbo Pioneers had a lot to do with Eldon approaching us. So I'm so pleased that this is the way we'll end this series this year, is with Eldon and his family's story. And so with that, I'm going to hand it right over to him. And as he gets started with the PowerPoint, I'll dim the lights. Into that part.
Can you hear me?
One more time.
No. Can you hear me?
No.
Can you hear me? Can't eat it. I have never done anything like this, so you'll have to bear with me. I guess the Wohlers family has we've traced it back to 1700. First one we had a record on. I'm the 9th generation, so we've been around a long time. I guess the Dutch Henry picture over on the wall over there, and here, had about 5 kids, and his wife trying to deliver another baby, and he said the doctor gave her too much morphine, killed her, so he got mad and decided to come to the United States and see what was here, and he come over in 1883 and wound up in Valentine, and him and one of the Holtzmans, which was a homesteader up on the ridge by Squaw Mountain, they walked from Valentine out here, and both of them drove a stake. Granddad, Dutch Henry, drove the stake where the original Wohlers homestead is up there. Holtzman was about 4 miles east of there. They went back to Germany, and he got his kids and brought them out to Iowa, and brought, I call him Uncle Hank Wohlers, and he was about the second boy. And they came out and made a dugout and worked for about a year and a half as they were getting things ready, and then the train had made it to Shattern by then. He had left 4 of them in Iowa with some friends that he knew there. So they wound up shattering, and they went and got them, and Mrs. Peck kept the three younger ones, and my granddad and Henry, and started building onto the place up there. So it's just when he left Germany, he left a place that had been in the Wohlers name for 200 years there.
I knew that.
His left one boy over there. He didn't want to come with him. And brought the rest of the family with him. This is some of the first barn built. That house wasn't the first house either, didn't live in quite that good a house. The haystacks there, straw stacks. I guess that's one was born in 1700. There's a lot of Johns, and technically my name is John Eldon. Everybody knows me by Eldon until I got in the service. That's my Dutch Henry over there. And that's granddad, Fred Wohlers, and his kids. They had 13 kids, one of them died in about 3 months. These was all of his family, and his little kids. I guess you can read that probably better than me telling you. Dutch Henry owned a saloon here in Crawford for a few years. He must have drank a lot of beer. Can't read that very good. When Granddad started took over the place in about 1885 or something. He wanted to build a big barn. So, he got guy by the name of Britton brought his sawmill up from East Ashbury and set it up and then cut all this rough lumber for the barn. A lot of those trees back then didn't have a knot in them hardly. There's one board with a haymound up there, I know it's 18 inches wide and 20 feet long. There's not a knot in them. Had a lot of neighbors helping build the barn. Guy by the name of Charles Starkweather was the main carpenter. He left the country afterwards, and I don't know where he went. Took 30 kegs of nails to build the barn. That's a lot of nails, a lot of hammer. After Granddad died, all 12 kids met. They decided that Dad was the only one that could afford to buy the place at the time. So he took out a loan and bought the place. That's how he wound up with it. Dad and Mom went to school together for a couple of years. When Dad died in what year was it? 99. And we got together after Mom died, and kids said I could sell the place or whatever. And I decided that my youngest grandson thought he could buy it. Taylor Wohlers. He's now living in the place. This is a picture down Main Street. That house, top there is the house that he left, Dutch Henry left when they come over from Germany. They built nice houses over there. They lived in the upstairs, and the bottom was horses and cows, chickens. The church is the one that Dutch Henry was married in. Bottom picture of Crawford. Pictures of Crawford. There's having the Tri-State County Fair, South Dakota and Wyoming and Nebraska would trade off years of having the fair. And this was one year when they had it there. I know Dad told me one time about they had, might have been when the fair was on, while Bill was here with his show, and they had a big tent set up. And during the show, they chased Indians around there. One of the old bucks, he leaned over a little too far and wasn't looking, hit his head on the pole, and he died that night. That's when everybody's be a citizen. Planted a lot of oats and rye and barley. And put it in stacks like that. Then they pull a machine up in between two stacks. 50 bundles into the machine. This is these first barn here. Some logs with straw on top.
Is that here? That picture here?
That was a built log, wooden house over here on this side, and they built that brick house on the end. That's my dad sitting on Dutch Henry's lap. I don't know who the first guy is. Henry. Tells you down there, reading, I can't read them real good. In 1910, they built this house, moved the other one away, built this house in 1910. That's what's still standing here now, it's a brick house. We used to buy some pretty good horses, work horses. This one's off the subject a little bit, but this is one of his daughters, Anna Wonderly, was her married name. Her husband was a preacher. And I think, and he took a bunch of people from Crawford and Piedmont and Hemingford and like that, and went up to around Grable, Wyoming, and started a community up there named Hemingford. He was preaching up there. I think they met him on the boat. She went with Dutch Henry back to Germany. On the way back, she met this Wonderly. Got married to him then after 2 years. This is a picture of my granddad, Fred. He brought 14 wagon loads of hogs to town one day. Had all the neighbors around helping. One of them had a sled. This is a Wonderly. Dutch Henry's girl was married Wohlers. Henry paid for Mr. Oatkin and 4 kids to come over from Germany. And he had something in mind. 2 of his boys married Oatkin girls. My grandmother, Mary, was a soyster. So about half the people out here are related to me. 13 in each family. You can read on them better than I can see them. Bunch of bald-headed Wohlers. That was the last pictures we had of Granville Wars. My dad and my brother there. His name was John too. John was a famous name in the Wohlers family because there were about 4 more of them. Just
My dad had one of those thrash machines and used to go around to the neighbors and thrash.
bunch of grandkids that day. My mother, her mother, and sister. That was their schoolhouse. Schoolhouse set about,
Was it over the hill?
no, schoolhouse was, this one was about 4 miles east of the home place up there. Then Granddad decided to give him a couple acres down piece of ground he had, and they moved it down there. Mom and Dad went to school together for a couple of years. These are not motor driven. This is the East Ash Creek Road when they were building it. Took a lot of dynamite to get down through there. Two of my hands, first off over along the head, which had kind of fall. Hank Wohlers made a place right about a mile north of the home place up there. And that's where he lived. He had about 6 or 7 kids down there. Sundays they used to go and have picnics. That was the 4th of July celebration in Nice Creek one time. I was 3 years old when this picture was taken, but I remember the day real good. People say you don't remember. I do. They had a should have had 2 more pictures. Had a cornhusking bee, and about 20 guys showed up for it. Merchants in Crawford put up prizes for it. Mom and Dad. There's the rest of the cornhusking league. Raymond Wohlers. He married Rail and Hughes out of Larson. That was the day we dressed up to go get my dad, get him after he was in the hospital, had his appendix taken out. I'm getting lazy on me. My uncle, Walter Wohlers, had his appendix taken out by Walter Reed out of Fort Robinson. And my granddad took him in out there. Walter Reed did that operation. Granddad never smiled much. He really could make coffee though. He'd get a big old pot of water and pour the grounds in it. And get ready, he'd put some in a cup, pour it in a saucer and drink out of the saucer. I never could figure that one out. That was at that Dawes County Fair. 400,000 for a hog. I wouldn't want to wrestle him on it. That was his first barn. Folds for the frame, and then he put the double act siding on it. I always remember Dad telling me about they had a block and tackle coming out of a place there, and that's where they had butchered hogs. My grandmother would always run out there with the beef pan and fix the blood and make blood pudding. I never ate any blood pudding until about 20 years ago. We took a trip to France and Ireland, and I didn't know what these little brown cookies were. I thought they were cookies. That's the schoolhouse at Longwood. Was one of the first students, and my brother and I were the last two. That was Mary Ellen Piper. pet deer. That deer I found and raised her, called her Betty. She always spent her nights in the bouncing Betty flower bed at Mall Hat. So we named her Betty. Dad taking us to school. Mary Priesthoff was our teacher. I doubt very many of you guys knew her. Anna Priesthoff worked in the bank for years. She was a good teacher. Virgil Wohlers was the youngest of Fred Wohlers' family. He was taking my sister to school in London. These are just some aerial shots. Part of the families. Used to do a lot of getting together with families and having dinners. People don't do that much anymore. The awards we had. Don Soyster and Virgil Wohlers. They was getting ready to go to service in World War II. This is Virgil Wohlers. Got his arm hurt. It wasn't real severe, but at Grapple Wohlers. I guess we'll be getting into the Wohlers from Germany then pretty quickly. Minnie Wohlers, she was an aunt. Dad Steve.
That is a big snowman.
Dan and Maida. You recognize yourself? Sister, from Hemingford. She was Henry Wohlers' grandmother. Henry lived about a mile east of us, where North is. Probably read that better than I can tell it. All the logs were solid in the place there. Got towards the end of putting the barn up, they was sawing, cutting the tree down, and sawing it, and putting it up the same day. We had one piece of wood at 6 inches wide, 36 inches long. 24 nails on it. Where the feeders was up and hanging. And I shingled the west side of the barn on the end. And 58, I left the other one 59. And we'll do shed next year. I put the shingles on the little canopy out here. That tight rope around my waist over the top there, down to the tractor axle. I sit out there in the little canopy. And said they had the hang on full twice, held about 200 tons hang. Well, woman's cold water and stuff like that. We figured there was 200 ton in there. Most barns have a brace down on each peak. This one was the first thing. One time I was up there farming on place there at folks, and we was eating dinner. There's two people sitting out there at the road, and finally they got in. And they're out of their car and walked part way to the barn. And so I went out and see what they were. One of them was a teacher from Notre Dame Cathedral, and over there, and he was teaching in Chattern for 2 weeks. Spending a year or two in Notre Dame College here teaching. I asked him, what they was wanting. Well, he said, "Can we look in that barn?" I said, "Sure." We started to walk into that barn, and he turned to the professor from Chattern, and he said, "You take note of this." He said, "This barn was put up without a blueprint." One from Chattern said, "How do you know?" I said, "I've seen enough barns, I know this was never put up on the blueprint." And Dad always said, the head carpenter would scratch a little bit on the board sometimes in the morning, what they were gonna do. And that's what they'd do. Never had a blueprint, really. Barns, 80 foot long, 40 foot wide. Lean-to is 18 feet wide. Brenda taking gas barrels, and gas barrels. I helped put hay in the barn a few times. Hired the east side of the barn, somebody to re-shingle. That was the curtain that was in the church up there. Granddaddy did the church, couple 3 acres. Put the church on. They hold the church from about 5 or 6 miles to the southeast. And we're talking Willow Creek Road. They hold the main part of the church over and put it down and build onto the north side of it some. This is a couple that went up around Grable to set up and build a new church up there. This is where Dutch Henry paid for Oaken, Bert Oaken's dad, granddad, come over. Like I said, you got something in mind, because they're both married Wohlers boys. You know them people, Emily? And this is oh, what year was it, Jeanette? 93? Yeah, before that. Eddie Gorton was postmaster in Crawford, and there was a letter addressed to the Wohlers family, one to the Wohlers family. Eddie knew Dad, Aunt of the Wohlers, so he put that one in his box, other one in Georgia Wohlers box. And what it was Herman, tall guy down here in the bottom picture, his dad was Adolf, and his dad was the oldest boy that Dutch Henry had. He stayed in Germany. And these letters was from Germany, written in German. So Jeanette and I took one letter to Lily Sikorsky, and she could read it some. George took his to Mrs. Ashwag, and she could read it some. Hitler changed the writing quite a bit when he was running Germany, so they was having a hard time making the letters out. They came over, Adolf and Dad were cousins. Adolf and his wife, and Adolf, son and wife, and their boy, and the first ones over here from Germany. And then they came back. Adolf never come back again. Herman and his wife, Ursula, they was back 2 or 3 more times. And my folks went over there to visit, and I got another place. I don't remember what day or year they went when my folks went over. Visited them, and Jeanette and I went over in '93. It was just as dry as we're getting sick and so on. We left the next day after we vaccinated a bunch of them. Went to Germany, and it was so nice and green over there. They had to come home. We spent about 24 days over there. Took my sister home. Luke's got married, and him and his wife, and another couple come over once, and then just him and his wife come back a time or two. First motor, we used to cut grain of the binder, shop. It was the first combine that ever had cut for it. 49 Blizzard. Wasn't as bad around our house as it was in places. We were one of the last ones to get plowed out. They were coming from the east and coming from the west. It, one place over east, they opened the road 3 times before it stayed. They opened the road for a mile, blow in at night, open it again, blow in. I never missed a day of school, 49 Bush. We had a real long-legged school teacher. She was boarding about a quarter mile from the schoolhouse. I had 2 pair of skis, and I took one over to Don Bass. And there, we skied to school. Never missed a day. A lot of schools were going to school yet in June. This was top picture was some grouse. We were driving cattle up to national grasslands up north. Up the bottom of Pete Smith Hill up there. We always stopped there and ate dinner. I rode my 4-wheeler up there and started to park it there north of the gate. Old mother grouse flew up. And I leaned up over my 4-wheeler. Here was this nest of eggs. The cows were coming, so I went ahead and opened the gate. Went back and looked. She was on the nest again. They were hatching. And time we ate dinner, most of the eggs had hatched. This was 2 baby hawks that got a picture of. Maintainers went by and had a pretty big, tall bunch of snow on the side of the road. Old mother rabbit, she went up there and pulled hair out of herself and made a nice bed in the side where he plowed up there. And just a couple of nosy coons one day when we were fencing up Nash Creek. This is a Soyster family. At one time there was about 5 of them farming right around Skull Mountain up there. That was their house and barn. One time, there was 11 of the Wohlers clan farming in Dawes County. 11 families of Wohlers. Of my dad's family. Taylor owns the farm now, up there on top. That's his family. That's Drew's three kids. He lives here in town. Bruce and Marie, our son. None of them could come to this today because they was helping Cal and Don brand gas. I guess that's it.